I'm really happy to invite to the stage Cassian Silins. He's currently the Senior Director of Lodging Connectivity Account Management for Expedia Group. But it's not just the Expedia Group that he's been working with then. He's been all over. He has worked in strategic roles at SiteMinder, GTA, Kayak. He actually built out the vacation rentals module within Kayak. So he knows a lot about how things get built, how they get made, and he has a lot of experience even in investing in the short-term rental space. So he gave me a little tidbit backstage. He's going to be showing us some data today. So get your glasses out to be sure you can see all the numbers correct. And please join me in welcoming to the stage Cassian Silins, everybody.
There you go. There I am. Well, thank you, Keegan. And yeah, it's great to be speaking on the Friday afternoon. Just like you guys, I'm very keen to get back onto the margaritas later, so I'll keep this as short and sweet as possible. My name is Cassian. So I'm representing Vrbo, and as Keegan mentioned, we're part of, for those that might not know, the Expedia group, so Expedia.com and Hotels.com as well. And I run and look after the connectivity software partnerships team at Vrbo and Expedia Group. And essentially, that is a team that looks after the hundreds of different property management software companies globally, including Guesty. So today, I'm going to be walking you through our Traveler Value Index. What is this? This is a huge amount of data that Expedia Group and Vrbo have collected about traveler trends in 2025 and moving forward. So hopefully, there are some nuggets that you can take and implement in your yearly kind of strategy when it comes to customer acquisition. So we'll be centering around kind of three main areas. That of planning, so what are consumers looking to plan to do in terms of their travel in 2025 in the next 12 months. The values that are important to them, so how have they changed over time, and the influences in their decision making. So let's proceed. So in fact, Expedia Group have been doing this for quite some time. We actually did a Traveler Value Index survey back in 2023 based on 2022 data. So a lot of the data you're going to see is benchmarked on that. And if we look back at the last 5 years, I mean, Varad mentioned it in her presentation, it's been anything but smooth. We've had, obviously, the pandemic, shutdowns, revenge travel, and then somewhat back to a status of normality. But yes, the traveler has changed as a consequence. Their priorities have changed. They have shifting values, the way they are planning, where they are booking as well, where they're getting inspiration for that travel has changed dramatically. And if I look at my previous experience prior to joining Vrbo and Expedia Group, where I was in the world of VC, during the pandemic, and no sympathy vote for a VC during the pandemic, it was still difficult times, but we tried to predict what the traveler trends were going to be over the next 5-10 years that were fundamentally influenced by by COVID, by the pandemic and shutdowns. We massively failed. Why did we fail? Because we didn't have the data points. But I'm happy here to be with Vrbo and Expedia, where we have a huge cohort of data. In fact, we surveyed 11,000 consumers. I would say this is one of the largest traveler surveys out there in the industry across 11 key markets. And basically, I'm going to be showing you this and how this is going to maybe help influence that direct booking and your strategies when it comes to understanding what the traveler is looking for. So off we go. First, we'll be talking about the traveler planning, how that has changed over the last couple of months, but looking forward for the next 12 months in terms of budgets, motivations, and impacts on travel. This won't come as a surprise. Travel is meaningful. At Vrbo, at Expedia Group, we've always believed in the fact that travel is a force for good, and many of those in the survey also believe that as well. 50% of consumers say travel is more important now compared to 5 years ago. Again, not a surprise what we've been through, but we really can see that in the data. And that actually jumps higher to 57% for younger generations under 40 years old. It is clear the impact on people's desire to travel has not faded. In fact, it's increased. And what are those motivations that are behind travel? So you can see, looking back at the 2023 survey versus now, spending time with family and friends is the number one priority when it comes to planning, closely followed by finding new experiences. And again, if we break this down in terms of markets, those that want to travel with family and friends and plan with them as well, Mexicans in particular, US travelers, and the UK as well, where some of these stats go up to 60%. While having a new experience, again, no surprise here, is tailored more for the younger generations. We need to be aware of how the traveler is evolving and how things have changed over time. Going international. Again, I find this slide fascinating. This is the story of the last 5 years. Not a surprise, as I say, to all of us. But we asked in that survey if consumers were planning an international travel. In fact, and again, this survey was done in February to March this year. So 68% had said that they already had booked an international travel or were planning in the next 12 months to go abroad. And if I compare that to my own personal experience, throughout these 5 years, going from staycations in the UK and to Norfolk or Devon to drive 2 holidays in Italy or France to now going more long haul to the Philippines or to the US or to the Caribbean. So we've all changed, and international travel is really back on the map. Again, not a surprise. But what has changed is the number of trips that consumers are doing. So in 2025, on average, travelers say that they want to be booking at least 3 trips. And again, versus the survey in 23 that we did, that was only 2 trips. So they're wanting to do more trips on average. Business travel is also key, and this was a highlight from these 11,000 consumers that we surveyed. Of course, businesses now have increased travel budgets since coming back from the pandemic days. 43% of consumers are planning to travel for work in the next year, so that's an 11% increase versus 2022. And just quickly here, raise your hands if you're going to spend some leisure time here in Mexico City, either prior or afterwards. Again, vast majority, and you're a reflection of that as well. So we're mixing these 2 new, existing phenomenons of leisure, but also flexication, where you're working remotely from a destination. And as a property manager, you need to be aware of this to increasingly cater to this audience, whether it is super high-speed Wi-Fi across all of your property in the nooks and crannies, but also making sure you have that office space or quiet office space as well. Vitally important to attract this new discerning traveler. Then, again, Varid mentioned this yesterday, inflation is top of mind when it comes to planning that travel. It's, the price sensitivities around that is really important. So we asked 44% of those respondents said inflation was the biggest factor. And if we look down in terms of the data of those 11 markets, Brazil, Australia, and Canada were the top markets, going into the 60s and 70% of saying that inflation was going to be a big factor in them planning travel. We also asked for the first time, were environmental concerns impactful in terms of planning? And yes, that is the case. So in this case, to 27%. And surprisingly, and you can see here, political instability actually reduced versus the last survey that we did. Again, take this with a pinch of salt, because we did this survey in February and March of this year when we didn't have full acknowledgement of what the trade tariff impact would be, nor the ever-changing geopolitical situation. But if anything, the sentiment the first half of the year was, okay, it's not as much of a concern. Let's hope that that continues. And so let's, and basically as a property manager, again, you need to understand that geo strategy of who's those international travelers that are coming into your properties and understand the concerns that they have from that perspective. So we've looked at planning. Values. Values really came up in our consumer data. And this is something that has shifted quite a lot in the last 5 years. Bigger budgets. So I mentioned before, more trips are being planned, but also we asked if their budgets were going to be increasing. 51% of consumers said yes, they're going to increase their travel budget for the next year. But what does that really mean? Does it mean they're going to be spending more money? In fact, it's actually the reverse. They're spending less money, but on more trips. And we see that in booking values and basket values as well. And 58% anticipate being more price conscious in the next 12 months. Pricing and reviews really are leading the way when it comes to vacation rentals in terms of how they are choosing those properties. Again, this is of a cohort internationally of 11,000 respondents. And in our 23 report, price and fully refundable rates were the highlights. So this year really shifts to that value aspect of lowest price, quality assurance, and flexibility. And really, the motto here is really flexibility. You need to be able to have a pricing strategy and a strategy, long-term strategy that's flexible in terms of looking at your reviews and pricing. Then, in terms of those price-conscious travelers, what are they looking at? We've seen a need that of making more promotions as a consequence of, as we've seen, they're doing more trips and their budgets have increased, but overall it's kind of reduced. They are looking at promotions, and we see that. So make sure you are, whether on your own direct portal or through Vrbo or other channels, early booking discounts, mobile app discounts, and loyalty reward discounts are high up on the radar. And make sure that your brand has that diversified strategy based on the geolocation of those travelers that are coming into your properties. This is a big one as well, trust. Trust really came out in this survey. And it was a recurring theme based on reviews as well. In the survey, basically, we asked specifically about whether consumers would pay more if they saw better reviews. And, well, as you can see here, the results are quite overwhelmingly yes. A whopping 75% said that they would actually pay more for the vacation rental property that they want to book if they saw better customer reviews. Proof is in the pudding, as they say. And then if we are looking at, in order to have that strong traveler experience, we need to make sure that we have as many of the amenities as possible available to each of those different travelers that are coming. And for the 2025 survey, climate control came up quite high up, high-speed Wi-Fi, and enhanced cleaning. So again, make sure that your property has updated all of those amenities to the max. In this case, the more comprehensive, the better. And with that as well, at Vrbo, what we've done, we've listened to the survey, listened to yourselves as well, and we've developed new APIs. So these are the ways we communicate with our property management software companies, centered around these values and planning. And we have three big capabilities that have been launched this year. One, content management and onboarding. So this is for new listings in particular, so reducing going live on Vrbo from days into hours. And I'm happy to say that Guesty is going to be going live with this in the next few days, so we're very excited about that. And then we also have a promotions API, so again, reflecting how that traveler is wanting to have the early bird discounts, early booking, last-minute mobile discounts as well. And lastly, we have a Vrbo payments API, again, reacting to that trust element that the consumer is wanting. So this is an optional payment solution where travelers book through as Vrbo being the merchant of record. That means less fraud, less cancellations, but also the ability to get access to Vrbo's loyalty program, One Key Cash. Then let's move over to influencers. What actually has impacted the way these travelers are looking at making their decisions? There's no doubt that social media in the travel space has fundamentally changed how we discover travel. But this has actually really surged in the last couple of years since our last survey. Instagram, TikTok, etc. 61% of travelers cited social media as a source of travel inspiration, and even more so when you look at the younger generations. So you have to make sure that your property is live on those socials as well. An interesting one in here is more consumers are looking to film and entertainment for inspiration. So think Traitors in Europe and in Scotland, for example, as a destination, or TV series such as Yellowstone as well. We really see how those are inspiring people to travel to those types of destinations. Consumers want to redeem loyalty points for travel. So loyalty and trust are big themes. And we all have multiple different loyalty programs on our phones with different non-travel brands, and travel really sits up high when it comes to where they want to burn those points. So you need to have somehow access to that, whether it's your direct channel or through one of the channels that you work with, to have access to those loyalty programs. And I'm happy to say also, and again, it might not be common knowledge, that Expedia Group have a very large B2B business called Private Label Solutions, where we integrate into a lot of these loyalty programs. So again, looking at influencers, where are they most likely to book as well? Trust being that key element. Of course, a travel provider that they are already using and trust, but also those non-travel brands that they are already integrated into. Think other marketplaces, think credit card companies, where there is already loyalty and stickiness. So again, Expedia Group have, with Vrbo, the largest B2B travel platform. Proof is in the pudding, as I said. So here we have 160,000 travel advisors associated to the Expedia Group cohort, 70,000 partners such as American Express, Walmart, MasterCard, where inventory and content is going into their travel products as well. And 135 million room nights, mostly on the hotel side, but I'm also happy to announce here that we're going to start pushing more and more the vacation rental product, so your properties, to these 70,000 different non-travel brands, as I said, like American Express, Walmart, MasterCard, etc. Now, the B2B network also gives access, as I mentioned, to those loyalty programs. And again, if we look back at the survey, 82% of consumers are interested in booking travel through a loyalty program. So you need to be present in those non-travel brands as well. So, as a summary and key takeaways here, the future looks bright, definitely, when it comes to travel. We go through ups and downs, we know this, it's very cyclical. If we look at beyond the last 5 years and the last 15, 20 years, whether it is financial crises, 9/11, volcanic ash clouds in Europe, the pandemic, it's a very robust industry, and the traveler is wanting to travel even more now, more trips, more budgets. So we're in a great period of growth. And if I can just give you 4 key takeaways here to implement in your own day-to-day kind of strategies, whether with Vrbo or not, increase that visibility and reach. So stay tuned now, as I mentioned, for the B2B side of the business, opening up to the vacation rental and your properties being there. But cross-selling, having your vacation rental property on Brand Expedia, that is, you're going to see more and more of that, so there'll be more bookings. Appeal to the price-sensitive customer. This is vitally important. So promotions is really the name of this year. Develop trust with travelers as well. So focus on your guest experience, build that trust. At Vrbo, we have something called Premier Host. Try and qualify for that as well. And then last but not least, adopt an API-first mindset. So this is more about putting pressure on the property management software company that you work with to make sure that they are adopting the APIs that I mentioned before, onboarding, which Guesty has and is going to go live with, but promotions and Vrbo payments. And with all of that, basically, you give your brand the best opportunity to capture these new travelers. So, for those that didn't take any notes, and I saw some taking notes, but otherwise take a photo of this and you can download the traveler value index there. And yeah, hopefully you've got some nuggets from there. Thank you very much.